What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be discussing the 5 reasons why people are moving to Medellín, Colombia, or just Colombia in general, not necessarily Medellín, but majority of the stuff I will talk about is general, but some of it will be specifically to Medellín, Colombia. Now, starting off with number 1, that is going to be the American dream. I'm sure at some point in your life, if you live in America, or this is probably not just specific to America, I'm just going to say the dream. At some point in your life, you were probably told that you need to go to school, get a good job, you're going to get married, have the white picket fence with the house and the dog, and everything is good. This is the dream. But here in 2026, this is no longer the dream for a lot of people. And it's also, I think, just not possible for a lot of people. Now, if you are living the American dream, you more than likely have, you own businesses, you have multiple sources of income, you're able to do really, really well in America. But as I said, this is not the case for the majority of people. So here in 2026, I believe the dream is actually making some type of remote income, working remotely, and living abroad, whether that's here in Colombia or it's in another country. For some people, that may be the Philippines, it may be Vietnam. It just isn't living in America or living in your specific country, wherever you're watching from. But here in Colombia, specifically in Medellín, where I live, it definitely is possible. Now, being that Medellín was rated the most expensive city in 2025 in Colombia, it still is not outrageously expensive for Americans, or I would say Europeans, even Colombians. It may, I know that the Canadian dollar is a little bit behind, but it still is not super expensive for Canadians. So it makes it possible to be able to come here to Colombia, or in Medellín here specifically, and still be able to start a business, or be able to survive, have a family, afford healthcare, where things aren't just crazy expensive like they are in the United States. So going into number 2, that is going to be human connection. And I think that this is something that is really important, because here in Medellín, you cannot go a day without someone saying hello or good evening, or in general just talking to you. Every time I see my neighbors, we talk, and in general it's just more easier to be more sociable here in Medellín, and especially in Colombia. There's a lot of social groups. People like to go out and hang out and do things, versus I feel at times in the United States, some people can be a little bit to themselves. Apart from areas in the South or places like Texas, or you're in Missouri or something like that, people, there tend to be very friendly, very welcoming, but that's apart from the rest of the United States, where, if you're in LA and New York or Miami or anywhere else, it tends to be very close. People tend to be very closed off and to themselves. But here in Medellín, Colombia, or just in Colombia in general, you have more of an opportunity to have a social life, to be able to be more social and do things. And I think overall it makes a huge impact when it comes to mental health and just in general, because we are social creatures. So human connection is definitely big here in number 2, and I would say even more so now. In the United States, everybody is so divided, whether it's something to do with political, or it's what's going on right now with ICE. Here, you just don't have that. Even if it's political, you're not necessarily having, those same issues that you have here. Some people, in this case, were for the current president, Petro. Some people weren't. But still, there isn't as much, where it feels like a Crips and Bloods almost type of tension like it is in the United States between Republicans and Democrats. You don't have that same type of tension here. So that is number 2. Number 3, I'm going to say that is Medellín is progressing, and overall in general, Colombia is progressing. Although it's not perfect and it is still behind some other places, but you can definitely see and definitely, I would say, feel the progress. In just the 2 years I've been here, I definitely can see it and feel it. Now, Colombia has broken its record for tourism year after year. I don't know these specific numbers, but every year they're doing 300 to 400,000 more people or more than what they've done the previous year. There are now more larger events and sponsors that want to come in and do events in Colombia because of that. For example, this year in 2026, this is the first year that the EDC concert is coming to Medellín specifically, but I'm pretty sure in the future they will be going to other major cities as well if they show that Medellín does well with hosting it, or it may just stay here in Medellín. I've heard rumors, this isn't fact, but I've also heard that potentially F1 wants to potentially come and do something in Colombia as well. So, I mean, I think they've been wanting to do something in Latin America for a while, but you know, it is, right, like I said, something that is a rumor. But overall, Colombia is progressing and getting better. On January 1st, you had the minimum wage that went up by 23%. Which is helping people earn more, which also is giving more opportunity to people. Now, in another video I'm going to talk about the minimum wage and the economic effect that it has, but I'm not going to do that in this video. Colombia is progressing and it is moving forward. It's not moving backwards. For my next one, that is going to be life is more peaceful here in Medellín, Colombia. Now, I know in the United States, there is constantly this keeping up with the Joneses mentality. I know when I was a kid, I heard this term. If you don't know what that is basically, or what that means, the saying means is to have the latest and greatest, to consistently trying to keep up with everyone else, whether that means buying the latest designer, getting the newest supercar or whatever it may be, the newest Mercedes or Audi, where you feel like year after year you gotta, you know, upgrade your lifestyle, upgrade your phone. You gotta constantly, you know, going into the consumerism of constantly having the latest and greatest. Here in Colombia, you don't have that, and it does give you a peace of mind. Like, you don't have to have the latest car, you just need to have a car. Or if you want a car, you can just have a car. It doesn't need to be anything spectacular. You don't have to have the biggest house or anything of that sort. You know, you can just live a normal, peaceful life here. Secondly, now, although Colombia isn't considered the safest city in the world, in my 2 years of living here, I've never felt unsafe. There are things that I've talked about in other videos, like I never have to worry about, if I had children, if I send them to school, a potential school shooting. I never have to worry about going to a mall and worry about there potentially being a active shooter, whether it's mall, whether it's a grocery store or any public place. This is just something you don't have to worry about. Sure, there are people who have gotten robbed here, both foreigners and Colombians, but generally most of those incidences where they've ended bad is usually because the person tries to resist or fight back, and then something happens from there. But generally, if you're just giving up your stuff, nothing really bad happens. And I do want to say that, yes, this is still something very serious, but it is not something that happens very often, and it does happen more to Colombians than it does foreigners. The other part of it being more peaceful here in general, just there is more nature, much more here to, as far as tranquility, you know, and you can easily go 45 minutes outside of Medellín and be near waterfalls or, you know, just essentially in nature. And you can find a lot of peace in this. And also it is something that I would say is very underrated, but it's something big for mental health. So my last topic here is that you are, in general, just able to enjoy more life in Medellín, Colombia, whether it be from social scenes of going out and doing different social things like dance, you know, going out to party, or just hanging out with friends here. In general, you are able to do a lot more and like I said, I don't want to just say Medellín, Colombia. I'm going to say Colombia in general. You are able to have a much more fulfilling life than you would in the United States. And this is a huge reason why more people are coming to Medellín, Colombia, or Colombia in general. And although, like I said, this isn't considered the safest city or country in the world, I would say the safety factor of it, because I know somebody's probably gonna leave a comment in the comments regarding the scopolamine and dating and all that stuff. To be honest with you, if you are not on dating apps, if you're meeting women in the right places, if you're meeting them through social circles, if you're maybe cold approaching, or in some cases you're meeting girls through Instagram or whatever it may be, you know, you're not meeting girls that are professionals, and I mean professional 304s or professional S workers. In case anyone doesn't know what that means, you know, they're not on dating apps. If you're meeting normal, everyday women, you really have nothing to worry about as far as the dating. Now, it may not be perfect, but like I said, as far as the safety fact, you don't have to worry about that if you're not meeting women in that way. Secondly, like I said, the robberies, yeah, it's something that happens here. It's something that happens in the United States. So nowhere you go, you're exempt from that. If you're in the UK, people are getting robbed with knives. You know, I know that they don't really have guns there like that, but people are getting robbed, you know, with knives. So it's something that's going to happen regardless wherever you go. And, you know, if you watch most people's videos on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, most people feel safe here. And generally, if you're not giving papaya, which is the saying, no dar papaya, you really don't have much to worry about. And basically that just means don't be flashy, don't be trying to show off, you know, and you don't have anything really to worry about. But overall, it is possible to live a much more fruitful and fulfilling life than you live in the United States or whatever country that you may currently be in. So lastly, I want to say this, guys, if you plan on coming to Medellín, Colombia, or Colombia in general, and you would like to book a consultation with me, my information is in the description. You can find my information there. Also, you can contact me by email or through Instagram. I do consultations. I also do hosting as well. So if you plan on coming to Colombia and you want to go see Miradores, you know, want to go to Guatapé, or just in general want someone who speaks your language, who comes from where you come from, if you're, you know, coming from the United States, in general, someone that can just understand you better than maybe someone here in Colombia, feel free to reach out to me and I can help you with that. But that's it for this video. I appreciate you guys watching, and let me know in the comments what you guys think. Are you considering moving to Colombia or to Medellín? And if so, let me know why. I do try to respond to everyone in the comments, and I do appreciate the comments as well. So that's it for this video. Appreciate it. And guys, remember to travel, but travel safe.